Good afternoon, YouTube. My name's Dan.
And I'm Chris.
And we're reporting live from the Burnsville Library in Burnsville, Minnesota, where you have to remember to go big
or go home.
It is November 22nd, and we are the Friday before the Vikings and Packers game. And we'd like to, at first, review the Vikings and Seahawks game, where the Vikings committed 4 turnovers in a 41-20 loss. Chris, what did you think about the game?
I felt like the game was it was a pretty good game all around. It got ugly there late, but all in all, the Vikings were actually pretty competitive in the game. Ponder didn't have a terrible game, but it probably wasn't the best game he had from his last 2 starts. Threw a lot of picks there. Had to bring in Matt Castle, but all in all, it was a decent game. They were in it for most of the second half. It was only a 4-point game. Just kind of let it get away from them late.
Yeah, the defense definitely kept them in it. It was 24-13 there for a while, and then it kind of just unraveled for the Vikings, and they ended up losing by 3 touchdowns. But I agree. I do think it was closer than that as far as the yardage and time of possession. But the 4 turnovers, it's impossible to overcome that, especially playing in Seattle, one of the hardest venues to play in the NFL.
Yep, absolutely.
So we got the Packers on Sunday with the Vikings at 2-8. Packers are 5-5 again without Aaron Rodgers. Ponder will be starting again. What do you think about Freeman, and are we going to see him at all this year?
I doubt we will see Josh Freeman at all again. I think because he kind of failed his audition with the Giants, and then he apparently suffered a concussion. I think that for the Vikings, I think they just don't see him in their plans for next year, so they just don't see really much of a point in actually playing him. So, I think Ponder's probably going to be the backup next year. I don't think Castle or Freeman will be on this team next year. I think they'll probably just release Castle because I think he has 1 more year left. And I believe though that they probably just don't see any room for Freeman. So what's the point starting him? Probably just give Ponder some more snaps, and then they'll probably just draft a quarterback in next year's draft.
Right now they're sitting second in the draft order.
Right now it is officially second. They currently hold the tiebreaker, but if they win this weekend, then it would probably, depending on what happens in today's action, it would probably then be third, I believe would be my guesstimation.
Yeah, the Falcons ended up losing last night to the Saints. They're 2-9.
But that wouldn't hurt too badly because the Falcons are probably going to go Clowney in the draft.
Right, yeah, so they're not going to be drafting a quarterback number 1 overall for their first pick. So, but yeah, still 6 games left. And we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But I think it's fair to say if we don't see Freeman start another game that it was a failed experiment. But I think it was worth the shot for.
It was worth it because of
price.
the time. The timing of it was we needed somebody in here. The team was still in it. We had just gotten the win against the Steelers. So it felt like, why not make this move for a guy who had just thrown for 4,000 yards and had almost a 30 touchdown season from a year ago. Why not take the shot? Just didn't work out.
Exactly. So I don't expect to see Freeman or Castle on the team next year. What do you think about Jared Allen?
That's one of those toss-up things. I mean, all reports right now are saying that it's highly unlikely he will be back with the team. I think that the team will probably throw an offer to him.
For sure.
But just like Antoine Winfield, don't know if he's going to take that offer. I just don't know if this defense can afford to be without him. I think at this point, I think I think, though, if you just let Kevin Williams go, but Kevin Williams might be the guy that you could get for a lot cheaper now because he really hasn't shown up in any games, really hasn't done much. That Redskins game, I kind of was sitting here saying, geez, Kevin Williams, where have you been?
Yeah, that was a coming out party for sure. But yeah, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what Brian Robeson does the rest of the year. If he plays well, I think it'll be a higher probability that Jared Allen might not be here next year. But yeah, you're right. They'll make him a good offer, and it's just going to be up to Allen if he thinks it's a fair offer or not. But yeah, he sounds like he wants to stay. Most players do want to stay, but he does want to go to he's hinted that he wants to go to a team that is going to make a run. So we'll see. He's made comments that if he did end up moving on, that he'd want to sign a one-day contract and retire as a Viking. So I think, like you said, it's up in the air, and we'll have to see what happens the rest of the season.
Yeah.
What do you expect for this Sunday against the Packers?
I expect probably a ugly game. Probably going to see the punters get a lot of work. Probably going to see just ugliness all around. This is one of those games where you say, "Wow, how much does one player really make a difference?" Well. For the Packers' case, it makes a huge difference because if Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback of this game, score I think most people would predict is probably Packers 41, Vikings 10. Without him, these two teams are almost exactly alike. They have two offenses that they can't move. They can move the football but can't move it when it counts. They have really bad defenses. That really can't get any turnovers. They have good running games that unfortunately don't have a good passing game right now to complement them, and so therefore, I think in matchups like that you always have to look for the X factors, and I think there's two X factors going in favor of the Minnesota Vikings, and that X factor is Adrian Peterson and Cordero Patterson on special teams. Most people remember Cordero Patterson took the opening kickoff at the Dome for 109 yards for a touchdown, and now that this game is outdoors in Lambeau, that's going to be a lot harder to avoid. It's a lot harder to avoid kicking it to a guy like that when you're outside because of the wind and stuff blowing. So I just don't see, and Cordell Patterson right now is #1 in kick return yards, and that's kind of been a question mark for the Green Bay Packers. Has been their special teams. Adrian Peterson, he usually always just rips it up against the Green Bay Packers. So I mean they're a team right now that really, so I think with those two X factors, I kind of sway this towards the Vikings. I think it will be 24. I think it will be 24-21 Vikings. I think Blair Walsh gets the game winner as time expires.
All right. I also like the Vikings in this game. 30-24, Minnesota is my prediction. I do think they're gonna have a good offensive game. I think they need to start passing the ball because Packers, like they've always done, if put 8-9 guys in the box for Peterson, I think they got to keep them honest and start passing the ball to start, and then that should open up the running game. But yeah, Cordell Patterson I think is going to be a factor in our Sunday, and Peterson can get it going if the offensive line can get it going on Sunday. Could be a good game for the Vikings. But yeah, you're right. Without Rodgers, the Packers are very beatable. They're banged up in the defense as well, so there's no reason the Vikings, even at 2-8, can't go in there and get a win.
No.
So we'll see what happens on Sunday. Should be a great game. Like you said, I think it might be sloppy, but I think it's going to be close. So go Vikes. We'll see what happens. Moving on to the Gophers. One of the biggest games in Gopher history, probably in the last 50 years. Gophers and Badgers, Saturday afternoon at TCF Bank Stadium, which should be a very cold game. 20
degrees I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's going to be brisk. So that's going to be a great game. Badgers are tough. Both teams at 8-2. What do you think? What's going to happen?
It's definitely going to be one of those old-fashioned football games. It's going to bring you back to the old days of the black and blue division. It's going to be two teams that really depend on the running game, really are run-heavy teams, and play just good, strong defense. So really, it's going to be the game about which team can get the most success on the ground.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the one edge the Gophers have, at least, is I think that they're not so dependent on the running game like the Badgers are. The Badgers really have to have success on the ground in order for their team to win games. But unfortunately, in the receiving category, though, the Badgers probably have better talent. They have Jared Abbrederis, however you say that.
He's a monster.
He's a beast, and unfortunately, bad news for Gophers fans. Derek Engel might not be playing. Number one receiver, really can't afford to be without him. If he doesn't play in this game, that really is going to hurt the chances for the Gophers.
Absolutely. The Gophers have won 4 in a row, are playing well, and I think have definitely overachieved this year. Without Engel, I think the Gophers are going to have to play a perfect game to win. With David Cobb and then Badgers with James White, it is going to be probably a game where whoever runs the ball the best is going to win, which is usually the case. But with two good tailbacks in the game on Saturday, it's going to be real cold. Got to hold on to the ball. Turnovers could be a factor. I like where the Gophers are right now, but I think the Badgers are playing well. 30-20 Wisconsin is my prediction.
I'm gonna go 28-24 Badgers. I don't believe this is going to be a blowout like most people think. I know most Badger fans, like most Wisconsin fans, they have a lot of misguided confidence.
That's absolutely true.
And they all think that this game's going to be 51-3, but I don't see that happening. Gophers have a very underrated defense. To be honest with you, I think that they probably have one of the better defenses in the Big Ten. And one guy that a lot of people don't talk about is probably the secondary players, and one player in particular is like Eric Murray on their defense. He has shut down every single top receiver that he has played. I mean, he's played guys like Allen Robinson on Penn State, shut him down. I mean, he has shut down every single top receiver he has faced. But because he doesn't get the picks, no one talks about him. I mean, he should be a talked about guy. I mean, if I were to show you his numbers, you would say, wow, I mean, the most receiving yards he's allowed so far is 20 yards.
He's a very, very good player. And the Gophers definitely have a chance in the game. It's just, going to depend on, if they can, stay error-free and play a almost perfect game. To have a chance. They're at home. It's going to be a great crowd. It should be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a lot of fun on campus on Saturday. So anything can happen.
I think another thing too is we're going to need Philip Nelson also have success with his legs. We saw that against Penn State. Penn State would load the box trying to stop Cobb. Philip Nelson would go back, and then all of a sudden, when the passing options weren't there, he'd just jet for it. I also expect to maybe see some snaps with Mitch Leidner to do some option plays to try and stretch out Wisconsin's defense. Yeah,
it's hard to pick against the Gophers, but Wisconsin is also a very good team. As much as I hate to say it, they are probably that Arizona State game that they probably got jobbed in earlier in the year. It probably cost them right now anyway, a BCS opportunity. Even if they win out, it's going to be tough for them to play in a BCS.
Well, they'd probably get a large bid if Michigan State loses to Ohio State.
Absolutely.
That still doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, they got. I think they're going to work on that that whole playoff deal. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm excited about the game. It should be great, and let's see if the Gophers can rise to the challenge and get a win. Minnesota Wild, they're playing well. 13-4-4 right now. They are
8-1-1 in their last 10 games.
Yep. Before the Montreal game, they had a point in 8 straight games, I think it was, 7-0-1. So
well, the Montreal game, I'll say I didn't get really far past the second period.
Yeah, that was a tough one there.
That was a very humiliating game. I think anyone who's a Wild fan would say that I don't think they actually saw the third period of that game. So
I know I didn't.
I couldn't tell you who scored those 2 goals for the Wild because I did not.
I think Heatley scored right before time expired in the game.
Because I did not see that third period and most of the second. Once Kemper allowed that fourth goal, I said, yeah, I'm done with that one.
That was a 6-2 Montreal win, but the Wild did come back in Ottawa and won 3-2 or 4-3. Koivu got a goal with a couple minutes left, and the Wild got 2 points. So a nice comeback game there on the road.
And Koivu has definitely been showing up.
He's picked it up the last couple weeks for sure.
You know, there was, I was starting to kind of wonder if maybe he was kind of done. Last couple seasons he's really not been that big time player that we've known him to be. But he's really picking up his game now. I think he's starting to get some chemistry with Parise.
Absolutely.
And hopefully that will continue. Wild, they just need to continue to get goal scoring. The one problem I continue to see is they're just not connecting on too many passes, and they're also trying to get too cute. In the Montreal game, too many times where they try to get like some great pass off, and then boom, it get picked off by a Montreal player, and sometimes you just gotta shoot it towards the net, and good things will happen. Yeah,
the Wild are still out shooting their opponents for the most part. In the Ottawa game, they did not, but they still get the win. And then they have the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow afternoon, right around the time the Gopher-Wisconsin game starts. So that's on the road tomorrow.
I don't think most people will be watching that Wild game, but
to follow along on our phones.
I think most people also agree that in the off season they probably are going to have to address goaltending, because I do not see Kemper being a long-term solution as a backup. I mean, I'm sorry to say the last goal I saw him allow, I mean, that was a low percentage goal that he allowed, I mean, with ease. I mean, he's just not getting it done. He was awful last year. He's really not doing much this year.
Well, they were saying he was going to start in Ottawa, but I think Harding...
I think after allowing 3 goals in a backup role,
changed their mind.
They decided, we can't go with this kid. We need 2 points. The West is too tight. We got to go with the hot-handed Harding. He just had a bad night.
And came back and played well and got the win. So while they are playing well right now, and hopefully they can keep it going as they look to advance past the first round of the playoffs. So,
well, Dan, now we'll be talking about the Wolves. I have not kept up with the Wolves a lot this year, because every time it seems like I watch them, they lose. So, like Bud Light says, it's only weird if it doesn't work. I decided not to watch them, and so I don't know what has happened this past week with the Wolves.
Well, KG's in town tonight with the Nets. Wolves and Nets tonight at Target Center. But yeah, the past week they have lost a couple in a row here. I have to remember who they played here, but they lost to the Wizards, an ugly loss at Washington, in which Martellus Webster got his former team back with, I think, 5 3-point shots and buried one in the last minute to thwart any Wolves comeback in that game. It was a 104-100 Washington win. The next night they hosted the Clippers and lost again by 4. Almost the same score as 102-98. And in that game, Chris Paul took the game over with 15 fourth quarter points. And that's kind of where it separates a team like the Clippers and the Wolves, where Rubio, doesn't have that capability, quite obviously, to take over a game. I know people get on him about his scoring, and it is starting to rear its ugly head right now. Rubio just can't score the basketball.
I'm just kind of starting to think that maybe this Wolves team might benefit from maybe trying to just tank it for a top 3 pick. I mean, this is going to be a really strong draft class. You're going to have Andrew Wiggins, that kid from Duke, and then Julius Randle. I just can't remember the kid from Duke's name.
It's definitely a deep draft.
I mean, if you get a top 3 pick right there, I mean, that's...
There's a lot of bad teams in the NBA, and I don't think the Wolves are one of them. I think they're playing them well. They're just...
The problem is, though, they're not beating the bad teams.
Yeah.
They're losing to the bad teams, and then they just can't... I mean, I just hope that this hot start wasn't just a fluke.
I don't think it was. Kevin Martin is playing out of his mind. That was obviously a great pickup, as we've mentioned in the past. He continues just to tear it up. Kevin Love has been off the last couple of games too.
Well, I mean, if you want to be a superstar, Kevin Love, you got to be able to make consistent points. I mean, the game against the Nuggets, kept getting frustrated because he kept shooting all these threes, and every single time it would always just go in and out, in and out, in and out. It's like, if you want to be a superstar in this league, superstars pretty much drain 95% of their shots. They don't miss, half of them. I mean, right now I think, he's got like a 70% shooting percentage. I mean, that's not superstar quality right there.
I think Rubio will be lucky to have half that percentage. I think it's barely 35, if that.
Yeah, and they got away from the good defense too. So
yeah, I think the thing that's frustrating me the most is Rubio's lack of scoring ability. I know Martin Love score a lot, but down the stretch when those guys aren't making it happen.
Yeah, but what we're lacking with Rubio scoring, we're making up for with J.J. Barea.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, off the bench. The bench has been actually pretty good the last week or so.
J.J. Barea has just been a beast. I mean, I think maybe to send a message to Rubio, maybe for a game or two, you should probably put Barea as the starting point guard.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's what they're probably looking at as far as Rubio kind of slumping, especially in the fourth quarter when they put him on the bench. Maybe giving Barea a start and just seeing what happens. So not ready to push the panic button just yet, but if they can take care of business tonight against a pretty the Nets are struggling. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a boom or bust year for the Nets, and they're 3-8. So I mean, we got them in Target Center. There's no reason we should lose tonight. Hopefully get to 8-6 and keep it going from there. So with that, the Gopher hockey team has Duluth this weekend at home, and Wild Gophers are playing well. Minnesota, Wisconsin this weekend, and college and the NFL football, and
so it's Minnesota, Wisconsin. It's a real border battle.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happens like that. It's happened a couple other times this year, but it should be a fun weekend. Hopefully, Minnesota can get it done. And anything else to add today?
Well, how's Gophers basketball doing?
Well, they're undefeated. They've played their cupcakes so far, and they just beat Richmond. And
do you think the Richard Pitino era is gonna do good, or?
It's hard to say. They're winning the games that they're supposed to so far. They did that under Tubby, and they haven't lost yet.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a. He didn't land Thias Young or the two other big studs that were from here.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just not acceptable. I mean, even the kid that wanted to come here from Minnesota, they didn't even land him.
Yeah,
I mean, to me right there, that's unacceptable as a coach. I mean, you should have been able to have landed one of those studs.
Absolutely.
I mean, now what's the recruiting going to look like from here?
Yeah. It's tough to say.
I mean, this team might be as good as a Dan Munson team.
We'll have to see what happens. They're just getting started, but yeah, as far as the recruits, that's definitely frustrating.
At least Dan Munson had an excuse because he had a lot of sanctions put on his team.
Yeah, that's for sure. But with that, let's see if the Gophers can get their first win against the Badgers in 10 years, and hopefully the Vikings can take down the Packers. I'm Dan.
I'm Chris.
And don't forget to go big.
Or go home.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Go Vikes.
Go Vikes.
Gophers, Wild, Wolves, everybody.
Packers suck.
Have a great one.